Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you in our chambers tonight, and welcome to our October 16th, 2018 City Council meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present tonight. We'll turn the time to Vice Chair Nadolski for the Pledge of Allegiance, so follow his instruction.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Heyer. If you'll all rise and join me in the pledge.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to invite you to join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda tonight are some recognitions for Waldo and Weber State University Spirit Squad. We have 3 of those tonight. We'll start with Vice Chair Nadolski and recognizing Waldo, which we were disappointed that he's not here.
I was hoping Waldo would be here to do some flips after I read this, but he's somewhere else practicing his flips. I actually asked specifically to present this, and I was talking with my wife this morning. Waldo has a special place in my heart, not only because I graduated from Weber State, but because when I was going to school, we had a really fun Waldo. He was really family friendly. He had a huge head, right? And he would go around and talk with all the kids and everything. But at that time when I was going to school, they made a decision that they wanted to take the Waldo to the next level. And I tell you this story because the first Waldo to take Waldo to the next level was a really close friend of mine. His name was Keon Woods. He played football at Weber State and ran track at Weber State. He was an amazing athlete. But more than an amazing athlete, he was an incredible individual. And he grew up in Compton, California, and was in a bad place in some real serious gang challenges there. And when football became an opportunity for him to change his life, he decided to come to Weber State. And when he came to Weber State, he said, I'm going to Utah to get out of that life. And so before he came here, he was jumped out of the gang there and came here and started a whole new life. And that is the kind of story that a lot of my teammates shared at Weber State. I'm not sharing this story with you just because of his life story, but because he passed away almost 6 years to last week with brain cancer. He left a young family behind, and he was just a really dynamic person. He was a huge personality, and he brought everything he could to Waldo, which might seem like a really small thing at that time, but it ended up being a really big contribution. And so I think about Keon every time I see our Waldo do what he does. And I'm thinking about you now, Key, as I read this recognition tonight. The Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize Weber State University's Waldo the Wildcat for providing invaluable contributions to the Ogden community. Waldo reclaimed this title in the 2018 NCAA College National Championships as he won the national mascot title for the 2nd time. Waldo first won the title in 2015. Waldo takes on a busy role as a balanced student and athletic responsibilities. He brings an immense sense of pride and engagement to the community when he is present at local events, and he thrives in his role as ambassadors for Weber State Athletics and the Ogden community when he's on the road. We appreciate the hard work and effort Waldo and his coach dedicates to representing the Ogden community in a positive light. We wish him our best in their future endeavors and are confident that his success will continue in the years to come. And we present this on this 16th day of October 2018, not only to Waldo today, but to Waldo's of yesterday. And for those who, none of you know Keon, but if you did, you would be super proud of who he was and what he's done. And I hope the Waldo of today knows that those that came before him did what he did with a lot of pride, and that we're real proud of what he does, but we miss you and we love you, Keon. Thanks.
I don't know, is someone here to represent Waldo today to receive this? Yeah, come on up.
And Mr. Chair, I'll just add, his cat is named Waldo. He's named his family pets after Waldo. So personal note. It is really personal for Ben.
Well, now you know why my cat is named Waldo.
I'm not Waldo. I know Keon, actually.
Got a few more? We're going to take some pictures, so don't go away. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. So don't go away.
It's sanitizer.
Gotta do them all at once, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do those photos, but we're gonna do them after we do all three recognitions. And so the next one, we're gonna ask Councilmember White if she'll recognize the dance team.
Yeah, I find this interesting, since I have no dance movement in my body
Oh, I see.
whatsoever.
Move.
But I will do this recognition. The Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize the 2017-18 Weber State University Dance Team for providing invaluable contributions to the Ogden community. The Weber State University Dance Team defended its title in the 2018 NCAA Collegiate Dance Championships as it won the Division I Hip Hop National Trophy for the second straight year. And I go back to my first reference of there's no dance in me. Dance team members take on a busy role as they balance student and athletic responsibilities. They bring an immense sense of pride and engagement to the community when they are present at local events, and they thrive in their role as ambassadors for Weber State athletics and the Ogden community when they are on the road. We appreciate the hard work and effort each member of the team and coach dedicates to representing the Ogden community in a positive light. We wish the dance team our best in their future endeavors and are confident that their success will continue in the years to come. Presented this 16th day of October 2018. And with that, is there anybody from the dance team? Oh,
Well,
thank
come on up.
goodness. You can do a move or two if you want. Just, feel free.
Oh, come on, you're thinking about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
So not only are they cool dancers, they're like
That's
giving.
cool people. Well, that's information we didn't have. Thank you.
I know.
All right.
And kidney donors. All right, it's not on here, but.
Now we're going to turn the time to Councilmember Blair to recognize, let's see, we did.
I'm the cheer team.
Cheer squad. Cheer squad. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, mine's not as personal as Ben's, but I'll tell you a little story about the cheer team also. And I'm not sure if any of you were in this story or not, but it's my neighbor was redoing art studio in his downstairs, redoing a room, a beam. So he comes over and he says, "Hey, I want you to check." I ask him how his project is coming, and he's so excited, beaming. He's just so excited, right? Just so excited. And he's got this huge, correct me if I'm wrong, a 22-foot beam. He had to install a 22-foot beam. It's massive, right? And I said, "How did you get that?" Because it's just him and his wife at home. I said, "How in the world did you get that up and hold it in place to get it ready?" He said, "Well, I was at the Weber State basketball game the other night, and I saw these men holding these women up, and I thought,
One hand.
why couldn't they just come and help me for a minute?"
Hold my beam.
So he walked down, and he asked the cheer team if they would all come over and help, which you gracefully did. They were very nice, and they all came over, and they held his beam so he could get it in through the window and secured and done. And he raves about that. He invites all the people over to see this new room, and then he can't wait to tell about the Weber State cheer team that helped hold that in place so we could get it secured. So I'm glad that someone from this cheer team was actually part of that.
Art, you're right. It's not as personal, but it's way funnier.
It is, yeah. Well, okay. Mine reads, the Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize the 2017-2018 Weber State University cheer team for providing invaluable contributions to the Ogden community. The Weber State University cheer team defended its title in the 2018 NCAA Collegiate Cheer Championships, as it was named the Division I Co-ed National Cheer Champions. In the last 7 years, the Wildcats have won 4 co-ed cheer national titles. Cheer team members take on a busy role in our community as they balance student life, athletic responsibilities. They bring an immense sense of pride and engagement to the community, as mentioned earlier, when they are present at local events, and they thrive in their role as ambassadors for Weber State University and the Ogden community when they are on the road. We appreciate the hard work and effort of each member on the team, and the coach dedicates to representing the Ogden community in a positive light. We wish the cheer team our best in their future endeavors, and we are all very confident that their success will continue for the years to come. Presented this 16th day of October 2018.
I think we need a cheer, guys.
I don't think our city is high enough. Thank you.
We're going to take a picture, so if you guys will just stay, we're going to take a picture now.
Okay, now, the rest of you guys,
Now that you guys
come on up
recognize-
with these guys. We're going to take a big group shot. And a few cheer guys want to stack some girls up or something?
Ben, that's what I do. That's my trick. That's what I do.
Hey.
No, man. It only took you
You
guys
gotta
10 minutes
suck
to
it up,
figure it out.
Ben.
That's what I've been
Tighten
doing.
it up.
Then the mayor's not the biggest guy in the room, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him at the basketball games.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. We have to do some creative cropping, but we'll be all right. Okay. I think I can work with that. We're good.
Yeah.
They chopped off the top of your head. You were too tall.
No, I wasn't taller than the mayor.
Jill,
everyone knows this when it goes Weber State, Weber State.
Great, great, great.
Weber State, Weber State.
Great, great, great.
Weber State, Weber State.
Great, great, great.
Last time. Weber State, Weber State.
Great, great, great. Hey, thanks so much. That's right.
We'd love to hear from you if you want to say a few words. We'd love to hear from you if you'd like to say a few words.
Do I need to use this? Yes.
You do, sorry.
Well, thank you for the recognition. We really appreciate the support. These guys work really, really hard, and their season is all year long. And it's often a job that's, underappreciated because they're supporting all the other sports teams at the university. And all I can say is speak for their character. Like the Beams, that's a common thing. They are always there to lend a hand and help somebody out and go the extra mile, and they show that on and off the court and on the field. So I'm super proud of the cheer team, the dance team, and our mascot. He has been amazing the last few years, and he's done such a great job. So this is kind of a cool year because this is my 20th year coaching, and it just keeps. And to see where we started and where we are today, it's just so remarkable, and I just couldn't be prouder of him. So thank you so much, Ogden, for recognizing that and seeing these people and the athletic abilities that they have, and we really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. happy to recognize Weber State. Weber State is our town's school, and we are very proud of all the things that you accomplish. And Vice Chair Nadolski is jumping out of his skin to say something.
No, I'm not jumping on my skin. Maybe a little bit. No, but you know what we just heard? I mean, only in Ogden, right? Sometimes we think we're a big city. We're pushing 100,000. This is a small town. They got these shirts that say family. Only in Ogden, you guys. I'm just so happy for that. I mean, we don't just see you at the games. We see you at our parades. We see you seeing our kids off on the Kids K Marathon start, right? Helping them stretch and helping them off on the start. We see all that stuff, and we thank you for everything. So thanks for bringing it to Ogden. Boom.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Start all our meetings with a cheer.
Weber State by 17 this weekend.
Hey. Doug is prophetic in these things, though, so, you just put that in the bank.
Bitter.
Matter of fact, it'll be a tweet here shortly. So, okay.
Montana State, right?
All right. Okay. Well, that was fun.
Okay.
Next item on our agenda is our common consent portion of our agenda. There's one item today, the Ogden School District School Bond, Joint Resolution 2018-1. Do I have a motion?
Chair Heyer, I will make a motion that we adopt joint resolution for the Ogden School District Bond, proposed joint resolution 2018-1.
Second.
Oh, you got it.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Nadolski, seconded by Councilmember White, to approve the common consent agenda. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item is the report from the Planning Commission, residential parking ordinance amendment. And we have Mr. Montgomery here with us today. Welcome, Mr. Montgomery.
So this is an item that was initiated by the city staff, and the Planning Commission has reviewed it. And the revision, as you see, talks about three different chapters in the zoning ordinance. The intent of the revisions are to do a couple things. One is to look at clarification, and in the ordinance you'll see that one revision is in definition section to use some common terminology and give it a definition so there's not a confusion. Sometimes we talk about driveways, drive approaches. All these revisions are talking about how do we park on property. And so to get a clear understanding, we needed to come up with some definitions first. So we did a drive approach and a driveway. Drive approach being that piece which is in the public property in the right-of-way that gets you from the street to your private piece of property. And the driveway then is what carries you from the public property on your private property to wherever you're parking. So one revision is clarifying definitions. The other is to provide some consistency in how we deal with parking. We're an older community. We've had many different standards throughout the decades, and some of those legal parking situations are different from what is expected today. And to how to treat those and be equal in treatment both in the non-conforming sections and other sections of the zoning ordinance, we tried to blend them together so there's not inconsistency. So the next revision talks about making those changes and getting some clarification by adding graphics in explanations of what is required, and then also to take our regular parking section and clarify provisions there in terms of many different standards. One is we allow reduction of parking if you are near a transit center, but we found out that the wording wasn't clear enough to get what we really wanted to have happen, so this clarifies that. We further define what hard surface parking is to allow a lot of options rather than just concrete or asphalt. We talk about looking at areas like an O1 zone where it is really open space. So if you're trying to keep that open space concept, why is hard surface zoning material? Why not allow permeable surfaces so you can allow drainage to take place rather than create runoff, which has to be collected in storm detention systems and shuttled off, if the open space is all about the environment, why not have the surfaces also be environmentally friendly? And also to explain options that can take place in residential areas that can also take a look at reducing runoff. Also, how to deal and address with circular driveways. What are the standards? Right now, we talk about that as circular driveway, but we don't have any standards other than distance between driveways. Get a clarification of what takes place. And then accessory vehicle parking. Over time, single-family homes have added not only their vehicle, their car to park, but also then the toys, whether it be a recreation vehicle, whether it be a trailer, whether it be snowmobiles, whether it be a boat. All those things have now also been uses occupied to a piece of property. And some of the old standards required certain things which no longer make sense. For example, if you had an accessory parking site, you needed to have a 6-foot fence along it. I dare you to find a motorhome that's shorter than 6 feet tall. So what did the fence do? You know, it really didn't screen anything, but yet it was a requirement. So why not remove some of those things that no longer make sense? So, as I mentioned, the reason these changes are being proposed are, first of all, to be responsive to new conditions and changing conditions and how we deal with things. Also to bring clarity into what's required by giving visual images and graphics and improving the language so it can be clear and concise. And then consistency, so one chapter doesn't conflict with another chapter. So these revisions all try to attempt to address that. So in the first, as I mentioned, the question of definition of a driveway versus a drive approach, making that clear what the distinctions are between the two. In the parking reductions for mass transit, the question comes up, is it in a line that the bird flies, so you jaywalk, you cut through a building to get to that distance, or is it, how does a pedestrian move? So it's clarifying that the distance that you can take advantage of this reduction is how a pedestrian walks. What are the legal ways to walk to get to that transit stop? We saw some challenges as we started to look at the ordinance, and people became very creative of how they were close to a transit stop when physically you may have to walk over 1,300 feet to really get to the transit stop, even though it may, as a crow flies, be 600 feet away. Also then looking at hard surface. Before, the definition basically was limited to concrete or asphalt, but there are a number of ways to address driveways, and many of those ways now are much more conservation-oriented in terms of reducing the amount of runoff that goes to storm drains and let the water percolate into the ground itself and thus recharge the aquifers. So we included a lot of different options now in how someone can do a driveway into their property, whether it be the old drive strips, whether you use masonry pavers that allow water to go through the joints down into the water table, whether you choose to do asphalt or concrete, or even sod blocks. Those are all options that the ordinance now says will be allowable as far as an approach for a driveway into parking spaces. Again, I mentioned the idea of, in the O1 space, to allow road base and gravel as a means of parking rather than having to have it a solid asphalt surface. So this is demonstrating a permeable surface. Those work to begin with here in Utah, but after a couple of years, you actually have to vacuum out that area or they no longer function. They've done some experimental areas of permeable surfaces in Park City and find mixed reaction to how it works. But in an open space zone, if that's how people want to develop that, we see that not being a problem, if those are the things they want to have happen there. Again, explaining what solid surfaces are, allowing a variety of driveways to take place rather than just a typical solid concrete pad, but being creative and allowing how that can be addressed. In defining a circular driveway, setting some standards that will allow people to take advantage of the idea of being able to circulate around their lot, not having to back out, but setting standards of how far away that is so it doesn't interfere with the public sidewalk. And it still creates a front yard appearance, even though now you have a driveway go through your front yard. And so it sets the minimum standards of what can take place for a circular driveway. Those being a 20-foot setback. It's not the required parking, but can be additional parking. The maximum width of that driveway is 14 feet, and it's separated by landscaping. Those become the standards. The other thing deals, as I mentioned, with accessory vehicle parking. If you look at this air photo of this neighborhood, you look at how many accessory vehicle parking pads are placed next to the garage. And there's different ways people approach that, either with a tapered driveway, widen out the drive approach. Some don't do the widen drive approach, but put the concrete all the way. And so there's a question and a balance that the commission had about how do you approach that makes it workable for people, doesn't become too costly, but yet meets the needs of a neighborhood. So the first one, as I mentioned, is to eliminate the screening fence requirement. That way, something that doesn't make sense isn't required anymore. It provides two ways a person can do an accessory approach. One is they either widen out the drive approach so that you can drive right into that accessory pad, or two, you create a standard of angled approach that flares out to there. The problem we've had in the past is people say, well, what does flare mean? Define it. If I only have a 1 degree variation, is that a flare? So I only have, by the time I get to the length of my approach, I'm only maybe 2 inches off the sidewalk, but I just got that little gap, and is that enough flare? So we want to be clear that it's a 45-degree angle, and it's a landscaped area, so you're not tempted to drive off the sidewalk and over the curb and damage the curb and sidewalk. But it allows people either option to be considered, and explains that in detail now rather than just personal interpretation of what a flare is. The Planning Commission discussed the idea of also introducing gravel into the accessory parking area. And in the Planning Commission's recommendation to you, they had talked about allowing the vehicle to be parked on gravel, but the approach and the driveway leading to that parking be hard surfaced. Now, the council, as we were in the work session, we talked about you're feeling a little bit different from what the Planning Commission's recommendation was. And so in the ordinance that's before you tonight, we take what the Planning Commission talked about for the parking area and apply that to the entire driveway, that it could be gravelled for the accessory vehicle, provided it's framed on all four sides by concrete or a masonry border. And we set the standards of the depth of the depth of the gravel, its size, and that it's maintained. And in the request you made, we actually defined then what maintained is, and that's keeping it weed-free, keeping it contained within the border, the gravel contained within the border being that maintenance, and also then defined what masonry is as being several different types of solid material, whether it be a precast concrete, whether it be brick, whether it be a poured and placed edge that's at least 4 inches wide and 4 inches deep, so that it can act to contain the gravel that it encloses. In considering that gravel, we looked at what other cities have done, and in most cases, most cities don't address it. They just said you're either asphalt or concrete. Some talked about brick pavement, some about turf block. Only one talked about some type of other materials that were dust-free. But we felt, as we've seen what's taking place in the city, that the gravel is an appropriate material. So in the consideration in the ordinance with you tonight, we say that the person has either choice. You can leave it, as the present ordinance says, as concrete for that accessory pad, or that accessory pad and its drive can be gravel. The only piece that needs to be hard surface would then just be the approach, which is the part of the public right-of-way. And the reason for that is then to just keep from the materials being taken out to the street and into then the stormwater system, and just have that transition space. So it helps in reducing the need to keep the streets swept, because that hard surface will allow the materials to come off before you get to the street. So the Planning Commission's recommendation on a 5-3 vote, and again, I think this is why, as the council discussed this in the work session, you looked at some revisions you want us to have in the ordinance. was there was not a clear decision by the planning commission. Some felt gravel all the way to the drive approach was appropriate. Others felt gravel just for the parking of the accessory vehicle was appropriate. So in their planning commission's recommendation to you, they made changes of the definitions, of the language clarification, so we don't have the conflicting language, clarifying the mass transit distinction, adding the options for hard surface, the permeable surfaces in the O1 zone. And here in the red is the Planning Commission's recommendation. And then they talked about the driveway being hard surface and the gravel being past the front setback. However, as we've talked in the work session, the council's consideration is they wanted the ordinance revised to give the option for gravel for the full length of that accessory parking. And so the ordinance before you has that language. We, of course, remove the 6-foot fence, and then we create definitions of what maintenance and the masonry borders are for that accessory parking area. And so again, it's clear what is expected when you go with the approach of gravel, and explain what maintenance will be, keeping it weed-free, keeping it contained within the borders. So those are the revisions which we've made to the ordinance on your request. So that's what you have before you tonight for consideration.
Thanks, Mr. Montgomery. Any questions for Mr. Montgomery? Yes.
Has the removal of the 6-foot screening fence always been there?
No, that's what the Planning Commission had recommended to you.
But it's always been.
It's always been in the ordinance that you had a 6-foot screening
Talked about
fence.
the gravel too much.
No, we did. Well, it seems like just because one, ATVs aren't 6 foot, or, boats aren't 6 foot tall. Is there a reason why what was their reasoning for removing that? I mean, I understand RVs are probably higher than that, but.
Generally, even boats on trailers are taller than that 6-foot fence. We were just seeing that it really wasn't screening anything. Everything seemed to be larger than that, and so the question was, what was the purpose?
Seems like with the extra tires or, extra gas cans or something that I don't want to look at, the other accessories that go along with that. I just didn't know. I missed that one. That was. I wondered what their reasoning was, other than.
That was the main reason, is that it just didn't seem to function anymore. The things seemed to be larger. And oftentimes we have people share, accessory pad on one lot next to the accessory pad on the other lot, and is by garages, and so who's really seeing that? And is that just an additional expense added for no benefit?
Any other questions?
Doesn't mean people can't do it, but it's not being required.
On the, where you have the accessory parking, we're recommending gravel surface on there, but the approach has to be a hard surface, is that correct?
The piece that's in the public right-of-way, which is the street side, has to be still a hard surface, because if you have a drive that goes back, you have to make that transition from the street to your own property. And generally those areas will be where the sidewalk goes across, which will be paved, and you really want to have an approach put in instead of trying to drive over a curb and damage the curb. So those would be concrete anyway, so it would be consistent to say in the public right-of-way where the drive approach is, that be hard surfaced.
So if this proposal passes, code enforcement have gone out and written out citations. How do we handle those now? Do we go back and review those, or?
Well, if people have made corrections in the past, we're not going to back and say, oh, now you can take it out and not do it that way. They could if they want to. But I know in the last, month and a half to 2 months, code enforcement has just kind of held on waiting to see what happens with this ordinance before they enforce the present regulations.
Any other questions for Mr. Montgomery? Can we take 1 second? Before our school board members leave, we wanted to recognize that they have been here to support us in this joint resolution that we have just passed. And so thank you for being here. We are going to make some comments later about that in council member comments if you want to hang around. So, okay. Thank you for being here. Sorry didn't recognize you earlier. Okay, Mr. Montgomery, sorry about that. Any further questions? Okay, thank you. We would like to receive public input on this petition. Is there anyone in the audience that cares to address this particular petition? Yes, come forward and give us your name for the record, please. Limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Steve Porman, and I reside at 3349 Baker Drive. This has been quite a process, going on almost 2 years. We've been trying to get a solution to come up with, and starting with the Planning Commission all the way up to here, we've had a lot of ideas thrown back and forth, and it's been kind of a learning experience for me to see all this come together. But I do agree that it was not very clear in a lot of areas of what Ogden residents could and couldn't do, and I think that everybody's input has certainly been appreciated. Really, I guess the only really question I have at this point is with what has come up with the resolution on this is, have you guys lost your minds? I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding, Greg. I appreciate everybody's input. I really do. I think a reasonable solution has been set forth, and I think I pretty much agree with everything that you guys have come up with, and I know you put a lot of time and effort in it, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We might have
Mr.
lost our
Foreman.
minds too, so gravel. Yeah.
Is there anyone else that wishes to
We were going
address
to
the
say,
council?
we were going to say yes, but
Yeah, maybe.
And dude, you totally had me. I was like,
Yeah.
we got it right.
Anyone else wish to address the council? Okay. Any discussion or resolution? Ready for a motion if there's no discussion?
I think what I got from Greg's presentation is that the resolution that's before us makes sense. It brings clarity where clarity needs to be considered, and consistency. Hopefully we're the same and we can handle the situations with a consistency look. And then it provides standards. You have to have standards in anything to give some credence to the ordinance, and it's workable. So I think those are the 5 ideas that I got from this proposal this evening.
Councilmember White, you brought up a point about the screening fence. Would you like to speak to that at all?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally missed that the last time. But I think we're looking at accessory areas as just for RVs or, boats or whatever. I think we need to be careful because they can be just collection points. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be for our toys, as Greg put it. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to revisit that or not. Steve has waited 2 years. I'm sure he. I don't have a heartache over one or the other. I just wondered if anybody else would think that 6-foot screening fence isn't necessary. Is necessary. So
it brings up in my mind a question. I think that there's a difference between like a motorhome and junk, and maybe Mr. Montgomery, could you talk to this at some length about if it's just eyesore type things that is viewed from the front? Is code enforcement empowered to take care of those kind of things?
Yes, so this is only accessory vehicle parking, means they're the registered, licensed vehicles that are placed there. It isn't meant to be, this is where I dump all the wood. This is not the intent of this, is accessory vehicle parking and for registered and licensed vehicles. And so that's what the provision is of what happens there. So it's not, just here becomes a storage area.
So if someone had a pile of stuff, I know where you're going. You would hope there would be a fence there to shield from the view of it. If there's no fence, then you got a pile of junk. Instead of code enforcement going and saying you're required to have a fence, which is what we would could have done in the past, we still have other ordinances that they can enforce and say,
To remove the
gotta
pile.
remove the junk.
Right.
So I think your
Yeah, you
concern is
answered
spot
it,
on,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
but we still have other tools, is the.
Correct.
That answers my question, so thanks, or my concern.
Greg, if I'm in construction and I have a trailer with maybe a backhoe, can I park that on that accessory?
No.
Okay. I just wondered.
Again,
about
this
that.
is recreational vehicles, your personal vehicles. This isn't office or work type of vehicles. So, if you're a contractor, you have to have somewhere else where you park those type of things. It can't be on your residential lot.
Any other questions? Okay, let's look for a motion then.
Chair Hire, I will go ahead and make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2018-28.
I second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Blair, seconded by Councilmember Stevens, to adopt ordinance 2018-28. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nadolski.
Aye.
Chair Hire.
Aye, that passes. So that's been a long time coming. We appreciate those people who have spent so much time.
Make a comment before we-
Yes, Vice Chair Nadolski?
Before Mr. Porman ducks out, if you do duck out, I wouldn't blame you, I get it. But before you do, I just wanted to thank you for, engaging with us in a constructive way. We, I learned a lot when we were in this process too, and it's been a lot shorter for me than it has been for you. But I understand all the frustration that's come with all of the time. But I've really appreciated the patience that you've extended me and us and the process while we did sort it out. Sometimes it takes longer than we wish, that's for sure. But patience pays off, and I think I'm glad it worked out for you. You had me worried when you said that earlier. I was like, wait, did we? Yeah, so anyway, I just appreciate it. Constructive engagement goes a long way around here, so appreciate you bringing that to the table.
In all reality, this has kind of been a little bit of a side issue for much longer than 2 years. We kind of look at those things, and if a lot of people are doing things a certain way and it violates our ordinance, we start to question our ordinance rather than the people that are doing it. And I think to Mr. Montgomery's credit, he got to that point, and we started to look at this based on the standpoint that it apparently is not unexpected from a citizen standpoint, and that we probably ought to see if we can't figure out how to make it work for everybody. So thanks for your efforts, and we'll move forward. Hopefully it'll make everybody happy. All right. Next item is public hearings concerning fiscal year 2018-2019 arts grants.
Chair, that will be presented by Christy and Lori. As they're coming up, I just thought I'd tell you a little brief story today. I went past Christy's office, and there were balloons and streamers and Happy Bosses Day. And she couldn't tell me whether it was her staff or her husband that put those up.
Welcome. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. My name is Christy McBride, Ogden City Arts, Culture, and Events Division Manager. Thank you for having us tonight. I also want to thank you for your continued support of arts in Ogden. It means a lot to us in our department, and also to the community, that we're able to fund so many arts organizations. This year we have dozens, literally, and they produce so many great events that give access to the arts to so many in our community. Based on that, we recommend that you adopt Resolution 2018-17 awarding the arts grants for fiscal year 18-19. And I want to introduce Lori Buckley, our arts coordinator, who does an amazing job year-round working with the committee and the community to get these arts grants submitted and vetted and recommended to you.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you, council members, for having us here tonight. I just want to, again, reiterate our thank you for you guys recognizing the intrinsic value of arts programming in our community. I feel like arts and culture programming, it really affects our inner lives and our emotional world in a way that you just can't reach in any other way. And so the Arts Advisory Committee and I are really thankful for your guys' support. And I just would like to ask you if you have any questions on the funding for this cycle.
Are there any questions for Ms. Buckley?
Can you review the process by which, if I was an applicant, I would fill out the application and hand it in? What is the process by which you would consider my project as for the grant?
Okay, so the grant cycle it opens in January and runs open through March. And each January I offer a grant writing workshop for new people who have never applied for, so they can come and learn about what they're eligible to apply for. I answer any questions on any of the, how to get through the process, what the guidelines mean, and all of that. And so once you apply, you fill out your application and submit it. It goes through a review process. There's a review panel, and I think there's 5 Arts Advisory Committee members, a member of CED, and a member of your staff that sits on that committee, as well as the diversity officer. And we review each application for following the guidelines, clean and clear budgets, and for the value that they're going to provide for the community. And so those are judged based on those criterias.
So as you explained it, if I'm a new individual, there is an education process by which I could go through and learn.
Yes, when we market for the grant cycle, it's always included in all of the social media marketing, and it's put out to the newspapers and everything that there is, and it's free and open to the public, just a grant writing workshop, and we go through step by step all of the questions and what it takes to apply for a grant.
Any other questions for Lori?
I'll make a comment just in case these guys boogie after we take a vote tonight. So we're not too far out from, a budget process. And in that budget, we account for these funds. But what really struck me from that process was just how shorthanded we are in our staff levels. And this is a problem we've all known about, but we've actually been putting pen to paper on it so we can quantify it. And it's clear that we have a pretty lean staff at this city for the size of our community. Now, I'd mentioned that because the way that we make up for that shortfall is through grit, passion, and commitment. And Lori Buckley, Kristen McBride, you guys are freaking lightning in a bottle. You guys are progress in a bottle. If we could replicate you 100 times, I wish we could. Because you show up to work and you recruit these volunteers who do the same thing with you. I mean, the amount that you guys give compared to what you get, that's what makes the difference for Ogden. I can't wait to vote on this because I want to support you every freaking time you ask. Because you ask for so little, but you give so much. And that's how the community, I don't think, realizes that, but that carries the progress for the city. And so thank you to you two and to everyone in the committee who's here that just keeps showing up and giving it everything you got because you care about this town and you care about the people here. It makes a big difference, and I don't want you to think we don't notice it.
I appreciate that.
Very well said.
Questions?
Any more questions? You can just bow, I guess, maybe.
Get out of here now.
Easy stuff.
It's easy, Mr. Chair, that years ago we only offered about $35,000 for our arts, and we right now we're up to $90,000. But you have to view that $90,000 when we hand out these grants and they do the performances in the community. The community benefits because we can enjoy those performances and those talents. The community also benefits because it brings people into Ogden, and we get tax money from that. And so actually that 90,000, you could probably multiply that by 10, 100, or 1,000 times as the amount of benefit that comes to the community. Arts is what makes Ogden unique, and that's why it's so important to have this type of a technique and system into our community. we are far better than most communities because of the arts that we can provide for not only the professionals, but for the amateurs and those who are starting out for the first time.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, this is a public hearing. We would like to open up this time for you to comment on this proposal or this resolution. Anyone wish to come forward and speak about this? Now would be the time. You guys dressed up for this, so please give us your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Sonia Krzyzanowski. I play Clara.
And my name is Matthew Reese. I dance Fritz. We are here to say thank you to Ogden City for their continued support of Imagine Ballet Theater.
This year we have danced in Ferriopolis and presented the Conservatoria in the entirety for the first time in the United States.
Painted a 200-foot mural titled Seasons, danced for the Underground Railroad to help stop child trafficking, and for Dance for Life and the prevention of suicide.
Rocky Mountain Choreography Festival presented an evening with Peter Chu, and now it's on our holiday favorite, the Nutcracker, in its correct realm with the theater with live dancers and musicians.
We have ticket vouchers for you as we would love to share with you what we do. Thanks again.
Now that was impressive. Thank you so much. You guys are on a good course.
And I might add that during Christmas Village, when it's really, really cold, they're out there dancing with nothing but what they have on there. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
OC from the Eccles Community Arts Center. A pleasure to be here again this year with you. Share a few thoughts of what we've done at the center. I see most of you come to the center and see what we do and exhibit. We this year were able to celebrate our 125th anniversary as a building, which was great for Ogden. We had a great street festival and an arts festival, which was well attended by the city. We put around 2,000 people through the building that day. And next year, we're looking forward to our 60th year as an arts center. So we'll be the oldest facility in Ogden next year in October. So we're looking forward to a celebration for that. But we thank you for your continued support. It helps us to enable young people to get involved in the arts, and that's one of our big goals this coming year and next year is to seek out to younger individuals in the high school level. We're starting a new program in January, which we will do a high school program, which is a bounce off from all of the northern part of the state. We're having a competition for seniors where we're going to be awarding $15,000 worth of scholarships to the young adults that'll be graduating next season. And we're going to continue that as one of our programs each year and start this funding for scholarships, because that's really where I think we need to seek out for people to get into the arts. It's the younger people. We've been here with this age group for many years, and they're passing, and we need to seek a younger generation. So our efforts this coming year and in the next few years are to develop funding for students that are graduating from high school so they can continue in the arts, because the arts is a field where it's not a greatly paid amount. The amount of work you put is not what you're getting out of it. So we hope to be able to fund this to students in our area, and especially in the northern part of the state, because everything usually goes south, and we want to begin something in the northern part of the state. So it's with your help and the city and everyone else in the community, and we appreciate your support to the Arts Center, and we look forward to seeing you there. We have a on-gallery stroll every first Friday. Thank you very much, and thanks for your continued support to the arts.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting the arts and the Junior League of Ogden. They do a bunch of meetings there, so. And if you visit, don't let the cat out, right?
Come on forward. Come on up. Don't be shy.
Hi. I'm Camille Washington. I'm one half of Good Company Theater. I'm sure you know my sister Alicia quite well. I am so pleased to be here. We just turned 6 years old, and all 6 of our years you guys have supported us through funding. We would not exist without you, so thank you so much. We have just moved in the last year to a new location, a bigger facility, and we are excited to keep presenting contemporary plays and musicals to Ogden. Again, we are the only African American women-owned and operated theater in the state. and it would not be possible without the support of Ogden City. We love it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jake McIntyre with Union Creative Agency, and partner Bob Gruler. Just want to say thank you for your continued support, as I always do every time you're taking something on like this. But specifically tonight, thank you for supporting us in a series that we've worked to start called Art in Action. That's all about helping creative people in our community make a business and create a livelihood out of their work, right? So in all of the research that I've come and presented to you all from the Master Plan for Arts and Culture and the Nine Rails Creative District, one of the biggest things we heard from the community was, from the creative community, is we need business and professional development. More than anything else, that was the number one need. And so this workshop is kind of series. We do a monthly event, and we've been running for about a year, and this will be kind of the start of our second year. And just hugely thankful for your support. And I also just want to add to that, thank you for kind of having a program, and I think this is a thank you to all of Ogden, that we support in our grants individual artists. You may not realize it, but we are one of the only communities in the state that offers that program. And other communities around the state that I work with are looking to model their granting program after ours because of the great work that Lori has done and the great ordinance that we have here. It's truly a unique asset that an individual artist could apply for a grant to fund a project with very little kind of personal investment into that. Without having a 501c3, most people can't ever access this kind of funding. So thank you, and it makes it possible to do projects like what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Cindy Child, and this is Deanna Richardson, and we're here on behalf of Chamber Orchestra Ogden. We want to thank you so much for your continued support of Chamber Orchestra Ogden. It's been so wonderful for us to bring quality classical music, orchestral concerts to the Ogden community, and we are proud to say that most of our amateur, semi-professional, professional musicians come from Weber County. And so you're helping support those musicians that have spent many years of training to be able to share the gift of music with our community. And we usually do about 3 to 4 concerts per year. We just finished a very successful performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, where we involved choruses from Weber State and the Weber State alumni choruses and some soloists, and it was just such a wonderful concert to share that message of the Ode to Joy with our community. We'll be doing a red dress concert soon in February, where we help support the American Heart Foundation and bring awareness to that in conjunction with Ogden Regional Medical Center. And in the spring, we'll do a fairy tale concert where we do an auction, an art auction, where we help raise money to send a child to music camps locally to give that gift to them. So we surely appreciate your support and just want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lauren, and I represent Lantern House, formerly known as St. Anne's Center. And I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to provide our education to the homeless individuals living at the shelter. And through your continued support, we're able to provide normalcy for these children, whether it's an activity or a dance class. And so I want to thank you for remembering the people that often get forgotten. So thank you.
Good evening, Betty Sawyer representing Project Success and the June 19th Day celebration here in Ogden. Because of your support over the years and continually, we've been able to embark on our 30th year anniversary this June, so we're excited to keep this event in Ogden, although we do it other places. 30 years ago, the event that was being held in Salt Lake, they were going to cancel it. And I reached out to some friends of mine at the Marshall White Center and said, look, they're canceling Juneteenth. Can we come up there and do the event? And Maurice White was the director at the time. He says, sure, come on up. And so 30 years ago, we came to Ogden, and we've been here ever since. And we've enjoyed that to bring other people from throughout the state, throughout the country, to our community to celebrate Juneteenth. Now we're doing it as a month-long event, and so again, we could not do this, we could not reach the people we reach as we not only support and showcase the arts, but help cultivate a new generation of cultural artists in the African American and all of our communities, because it has extended beyond just the African American community to welcome all communities and celebrate that art and culture. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Betty.
Hi, my name's Kylie Montez, or Kiki Coquette, and this was my first time applying for a grant, and I'm representing the Utah Vaudeville and Burlesque Collective. So we are really excited that you took the time to give us a chance and put on a great family-friendly show for you coming up in the summer. And thanks for supporting the arts. I loved all the arts in action segments and learning about how to do art professionally. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Hello, Taylor Knuth with the Ogden Symphony Ballet Association. I'm just here to thank everyone here, especially Lori and Christy. It wouldn't be possible without them. Ogden Symphony Ballet, in just 5 short performances since the beginning of our season, we've already seen 6,000 people come through our doors. This year, we're going to hit 20, and hopefully next year 25. And support from the council is pretty critical when we're trying to bring that amount of people to see the Utah Symphony, Ballet West, and other world-class music and dance. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Eric Temple with Highway 89 Media, and I'm the fortunate recipient of a grant to complete a documentary that we're doing on the Royal Danish Ballet coming to Ogden every year and performing Conservatoriate, which is the first time that production has been danced in the United States. And this year they did both Act 1 and Act 2 for the first time. So your money will help me finish editing the film. I've been shooting it already for the last several years when they've come to town, and never thought I'd have any money to help me finish it. I was just going to chug along and take a loss, but this will just help me get the motivation to finish it and do a proper job. And I couldn't do it without the help of IBT and also the folks at the Royal Danish Ballet and people at the Egyptian Theater. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last but not least. Hi, Darren Blackford with Wasatch Roasting Company, downtown here. I wanted to just thank you guys for your support for this program. We are a first-time applicant for sort of fostering art and musicians in the alleyway. And if you've not been in the alleyway for any music, it's Origin Alley Art Gallery, and we're trying to create this venue for artists and poets, and we've even had some folks come and speak in the alleyway there. And thank Christy and Lori for their help and advice along the way as we're trying to develop this venue. They're happy to take calls and texts at any hours when we are looking to do something, and even going through the application process. Looking online, but also asking them how we go about this process. So thank you guys for your support with the program. We hope to continue to foster that environment both inside and outside our shop over here a block away. So thanks.
Thank you.
My name's Todd Oberndorfer, and this is Brandon Long. I wish we could synchronize it like these guys.
No, we're not that
That'd be
good.
great, yeah. We kind of learn not to talk over each other. That's kind of the idea. And we're with a group called the Banyan Collective. I think together we probably have one of the coolest jobs in town. We've talked to and told the story of so many people in this room right now, so it's cool to see everybody come up. For the first time in about 8 years we've been doing this, we did ask for a little bit of money for one of our projects we're doing called Van Sessions, where we You can describe the van sessions.
Yeah, we throw musicians in a van down by the railroad tracks for First Friday Art Stroll. We just released a new episode today of a local musician who's 24 years old who will blow your mind, and they sing 4-song acoustic sets, and they're amazing. So we encourage you to check that out. We're in season 4, 5? Five. Yeah.
We're going into 5. We've just recently moved up to the Monarch building, so we're surrounded by that new big beautiful Monarch mural that's going on up there. But thank you for the constant support. We'll keep up the work, and this will help give a little bit back to the musicians that we have in the van. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Boyd Hunter, and I'm representing the Ogden Concert Band. I am a professional, but I am not a professional musician. I'm an accountant. But access to arts programs allows me to continue to express myself through music, and I appreciate personally the support that Ogden City has given to the Ogden Concert Band for years. We have about 45 members, and very few of them are professional musicians. Most are like myself or retired. And we are able to perform. We are able to do so with free concerts because of the support of Ogden City. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Nadolski, seconded by Councilmember Blair to close public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Look for a motion.
Chair Heyer, I'll make a motion that we adopt proposed resolution 2018-17, awarding the arts grants for FY 18 and 19.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Nadolski, seconded by Councilmember Lopez. We had a couple of seconds, so. To adopt resolution 2018-17, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Councilmember Blair?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nadolski?
Aye.
Chair Heyer?
Aye, that passes. Thank you all for applying, and we are happy that we're able to support you. It does make our community much, much better. As all of you have said, we look forward to the great things that you do. Thank you so much.
Chair
Appreciate it.
Heyer,
Yes.
if I could just add one. I remember as a new council member, I was on the council when we gave $35,000. And it was brought up, we would need to increase that amount. And I thought that would be very contentious. I thought that was going to be a tough thing to pass. I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And every council member in there, and back then, the council was a little bit more divided than it is now. And so I really thought that would be kind of a hot topic. And I was shocked to learn that every one of them supported that and was on board with that. And I remember one council member at that time saying, I wish we could increase it 10 times. I wish we could get it up, 10 times, because I don't think that anything will benefit our community like the arts can. And it's been great for me to sit and watch. Just like Councilmember White with her dance moves, I'm not very artistic, but I do enjoy art, and I do benefit from the art being in my community. And so I'm grateful to see the limited funds that we are able to give and the wonderful things that you're all doing with those resources. And so I thank you both as a resident and as a council member, because it truly does make our community much, much greater than those around us. And it's because of all you people here. So thank you.
That kind of dates Councilman Blair and myself when we can
It
say
does.
we have
You guys are old, I'll tell you.
I went over the applicants here and compared to 2018, the recipients in 2019, almost everyone received additional funding, and that's a good thing. It's nice to see new and first-time people coming into the program, and I would suggest that during our budget session that we increase it not to $90,000, but we go up another to $100,000, so that we can give other individuals the opportunity to showcase their talents. And maybe we can suggest to the state of Utah that they can come to Ogden and not Park City and still have a nice event to come to. So I think we ought to, I make that suggestion and a challenge during our budget session to increase it up to $100,000.
Thank you, Councilmember. You know, this is from my perspective, you know, we've got to be good stewards of the public trust and the public funds. And so there are a lot of people that come to the city and want us to donate to their good cause. And there are lots and lots of good causes, many more than we could ever support. So we have to take a look at this thing and says, what are we going to get back for it, for our taxpayers? And it's really easy to say that if we give money to the arts, that it multiplies in our community. And so it's not a difficult sell job at all to the taxpayer or to the citizen. So again, thank you for all that you do. It's an easy decision for us to make because of the good people that are behind the efforts to enhance our community. So thank you all.
Just real quick to follow up with that, I think one of the things as we sit up here, we get concerned about is how we are able to have grants awarded. And I think one of the things, it happened 4 or 5, maybe 4 years ago, where the committee actually has gone through and really have come up with a really good process and a really professional process to be able to look at the grantees, and make sure that we're giving out the money equitably. And so when I look at these kind of things, I want to make sure that the process is set as well. And so I appreciate the professionalism that we've done or that we've come up with. So thank you for doing that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And it will blow your mind. I think that was I wrote that down. It blows your mind.
Yes, Vice Chair Nadolski.
You know, I've been thinking along the same lines as Councilmember Stevens because, you know, every dollar, as we've mentioned, is invested so well and leveraged again and again and again when matched with your sweat equity and your personal contributions. And I think that's a good opportunity to say that, you know, I too want to look at increasing the amount that we give, and I also want to increase the types of events and the types of offerings that we can support, because we have a lot of people in this community that have real needs and real hunger for real cultural events that represent where they come from, and they're a big part of our community. And that's not a knock on you at all. It's an offer to you that we, at least me, I can't speak for all of us, but I really think that we want to help support more of that. And we have council members who can help bridge those divides and bring people together and bring those kinds of cultural offerings together. And it's heartening to know that we have that kind of, those kind of people on our council, and also knowing we have those kind of people on our arts committee and in our arts staff to know that if those connections are made, they're going to freaking knock it out of the park. So I echo your sentiments, and I just make that offer and leave you with that sentiment that let's broaden who we can serve. Thanks.
All right. Thanks again. Next item on our agenda is new business. We have an item that we have been working on for about 14 months. Amy maybe has been diligent on this. She was very optimistic to begin with. Figured that it would take her about 2 weeks to work through this rules and norms that we've had, and it turned out to be lots bigger than any of us thought. So I'll turn the time to her to explain this proposal.
Thank you, Chair Heyer, for the time on this, and all of you as council members for your diligent efforts and contributions to this. It's definitely been a multi-source effort on this and contributing to what was included in this. So I guess just a little overview on process. As you mentioned, this has been worked on for quite some time. And with the rules and norms, the current version is just a little bit outdated. And we have a rules of procedure, and it was first adopted in 1992 and just kind of kept building, and that's for these meetings in particular, 14 pages worth of content on how these meetings are governed. And then we have our council norms, and that is actually a 52-page document that was first adopted in 2003. A lot of content there. And so in looking at this process, the thought was, how can we better organize this? How can we better communicate this information and really make it easier for council members to understand, but also for the public to understand? And so as part of that, we have a proposed revision before you this evening. The rules and norms have been combined and consolidated into one document of 33 pages, and then some of the more specific information on the day-to-day operations of the office, when you turn in your travel receipts, different things like that, those are consolidated into a council office manual of 9 pages, and that both will be very readily available and accessible to the public, but just to kind of simplify and separate that information and to try to condense that. And so the main features of the new format that we have before us, once again, condensed information, but a cover page format, and part of this, and this is something that has come about with some really great discussions and dialogue, but really allowing you as council members to own your rules and norms. And so it's not just you come on the council and you're subject to these rules, but you have the opportunity to adopt those right firsthand and have those be yours as a collective body and council and group. And so then we have a table of contents. That is a new section to really kind of help ease the navigation. Right now we have a 2-column document that if you can find something in it, good on you, because it's a little bit of a navigation. And clear section breaks with the different categories and topics, and then a newest feature, a click navigation. So if you're using an electronic version, you can get right to where you'd like to go immediately. So with that, some of the broad considerations that have occurred with this, and once again, all from your feedback and your comments as council members, but more clearly defining the role of individual council members and the responsibilities that you have. The current format of the rules and norms, and I think it was pulled a lot from the Roberts rules, which we don't completely eliminate that necessarily, but the tone's a little bit different, and this is more of an empowering tone to focus on the things that you as council members can do and accomplish in your time in office, and what some of the things that you can do to help respond to residents and to help them to be successful as well. Council leadership roles and responsibilities. The last few years, that role of council leadership has really evolved, and we've had some great council leaderships. We've always, but recently step up and kind of help set some standards and expectations, and wanted to capture that and to include that as kind of an expectation moving forward. And then really updating our approach to council members' questions and comments, and then when public input occurs, how we interact with the public, and work really hard to improve that approach. And then ultimately, kind of the main theme of this is really having more flexibility to address situations with discretion. So you're not bound to very specific rules and norms on how you handle different things, but giving the chair a little bit more discretion, giving you as individual council members more discretion to ask questions, to make comments, to get more engaged in the meetings and in the processes that we have before us. So those are the main things that have been established as part of this. We held a council work session strategy discussion on September 25th and went through these documents, I guess, in depth. And there were some really great comments. Councilmember White suggested really more clearly defining the council members' interactions with human resources and also the trainings that you have that are required. And so that's something that we've added into that document since then. We had some really great clarification from Councilmember Lopez on comments and questions, and just adding a little bit additional clarity there, and then further describing how conflicts of interest are addressed. And so those are the additions that were made from that discussion, but really, really robust discussion, and appreciate all of your time in reviewing those. We had 3 council members that were part of our committee in establishing these. I guess our council leadership, Council Chair Heyer, Council Vice Chair Nadolski, and Councilmember Blair, and really helped in so many ways on this. And with part of the process too, we looked at other cities' versions and pulled out best practices the best we could. So that's what we have before you for consideration. I won't belabor too much, but if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to address any of those for you.
Are there any additional questions for Ms. Mabee? Well, I think we've asked them for a long time.
I was wondering, how will we communicate maybe to the public about if there's anything that's changed as far as how they interact with us? I mean, is there anything major that has changed that we would?
So I don't think that there's necessarily anything major. The channels are the same, but the way that we're responding, I guess we are changing our approach more than anything. There's no change to expectation for the public, but I think there will be additional outreach, there will be additional flexibility for that. And one of the ways that we're looking to communicate about these changes, about kind of the culture shift, the new approach, and this has been coming over the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's just kind of been building up. But we have a great communication staff within our office, and they're going to be working on a council newsletter. Sorry, I hope that's okay, Glenn, if I throw this out there. But as part of that, they're going to be working to help communicate this information and really highlight that to the public, that, you know, there is an interest in what the public has to learn about, and we'd love their feedback, their interaction, and this is why we're changing this approach. But for the most part, we're the ones making the changes, not asking them to. So great question.
Any other questions?
What will go on the website? Will the changes go on the website, or will the rules and norms complete document go on the website?
So this has been kind of a funny thing going throughout this. Is it's really challenging to have a red line version because there's such different versions. When I first started the drafting, the crafting, when we were having our discussions, the red line version was just, I mean, it's completely a whole new format, a whole new structure, and so we have currently the current adopted rules and norms, but if you adopt these tonight, the proposal would be for the final ones, the new ones to go up on the website, just to help alleviate any confusion. And frankly, I mean, there's so many pages of both, I don't know.
Nobody
If there's a
wants to read
simple, anyone's welcome to. They're public information, but it's a lot, just changes with minor things. So.
Changes will go on the website then.
The changed version, correct. If you adopt that this evening. So.
Question?
Yes.
Chickens last year, rules and norms this year. What will be for next?
Oh, you just wait.
There are things.
There are things. I never get a break. No, I'm just. So.
You can remind me, it's been a lot of meetings on this one, and I can't quite remember. Was it our intention that we would revisit, revise, and pass it annually?
Biannually.
Biannually, when we have new members, maybe?
So what we do is when we get new members elected, we as staff will work with them, give them the opportunity to review that information, and then provide any comments on that, and then probably January or February look to adopt those. And then around the budget time, and we may not around the budget time every year make changes, but we're going to kind of make a running list and take that opportunity to look at doing that. Thank you for that clarification. That's very important.
I just couldn't remember. We talked about some new things in the work session that we are interested in doing. It's going to be kind of a trial to begin with. Environment, but new roles and responsibilities could become, we'll fold it in as things become part of our new normals.
The sad thing is I already have a running list for January.
Okay.
All right.
But next year we'll bring.
So
don't
to your point,
don't confuse it
White.
today.
No, but I think that's a good thing. I mean, they need to be constantly evolving because that's kind of the nature of them. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council members, long time coming. Are we ready to make a motion and adopt this?
would make a motion that we adopt proposed resolution 2018-18.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Seconded by Councilmember Blair. To adopt resolution 2018-18. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Blair.
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka.
Aye.
Vice Chair Nadolski.
Aye.
Chair Heyer.
Aye. That passes. So that goes into effect immediately.
Based on the resolution, yes.
Great. Yes.
Can I just say a couple words? I just want to give my thanks to Amy for taking this on. I had been looking at the rules and norms for 2 or 3 years, and every time, and had this grand idea that I would rewrite them, but every time I started, it was just too overwhelming for me. So it was good to be the boss, and then I could order somebody else to do it. But she has done a fabulous job and just she's so conscientious and such a hard worker. And so I've just really appreciated the process, and I think we've got a really good product. And if I could do a cartwheel, I would, because I'm really happy to have this done, because I think it really does reflect a lot of the changes that you would wanted to see, and also that I thought was important as executive director to put into place to make us a really great council.
Thank you. I got to say, as one of the work group members, we did go through this line by line. It was looked at very deep, and a lot of good comments, very good insight from, Councilmember Blair, who's the most seasoned of the three of us. So, and Ben's just smart, so we appreciate the folks who gave a lot of insight to this, a lot of direction. And Amy Sue, we salute you.
And all of the staff, this was a lift by the whole staff. I just kind of helped coordinate, so literally.
Yep, she's already embarked on her next big endeavor, so you'll wait to see what that is. Okay. Next item on our agenda is public comments, and this is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas on any topic. So give us your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And John, I think Brandon's got do you have a mic? You've got that fancy chair. That's right.
Got a fancy chair.
Yes, you do.
My name is John Prescott. And of course, I'm a person that has a disability, and I came here a month ago. Had I known that you were going to meet 2 weeks ago, I'd have been here. But I wasn't aware of that. But anyway, I challenged you when I came here at that time to consider yourself a person with a disability and walk on crutches for a day, or be in a wheelchair for a day. And that means the whole day. Because I can guarantee you will learn something. And I would like Mr. Heyer to at least be in a wheelchair and go to the church house there in Mount Lewis and try to get in the back door with the door being locked. Because that's what I had to do many times with that door there. These are just little obstacles that you have to, and I'd like to have some of you climb the steps on crutches. And you can't just pick up the crutches and walk up the steps. You've got to walk up the steps with the crutches. And I mentioned the basketball team. I'm going to bring that up for next year. It'll give me a little more time to work with the basketball players there. Besides that, it'll give you guys time to get physically fit.
We have to start practicing.
But anyway, this month there's 9 days left that I have open to do this, and I'd like to have 4 people on crutches and 2 people in wheelchairs, and then we can do that one day with a set of you, and then we can reverse and let those that were on crutches be in the wheelchair. And I just need to know about what day would be available for you. And this is going to be all on the same day. So, you know, and I want the pictures to be taken of this.
Okay, we will see who will volunteer
if you
for
need my
that.
number, it's 801-668-7572. I'll be glad to answer your questions, and I've got the crutches and chairs lined up.
Okay, thanks, John.
And now I get to go to my grandson's birthday party.
We'll have fun at the birthday party.
Chair, can I say something?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
John, the last time you were here, you boogied out pretty quick, and I made a comment I wanted you to hear, but so I apologize for the repetition. But a number of years ago, my mom has MS, and so she's just having a real hard time with it. Her mobility is it's a big challenge, and she's got a lot of pain. And a number of years ago, my parents came to visit for Christmas, and it had snowed heavily. And that was the first time that I recognized how difficult it was to get around, not just our town, but every town, when you're in a wheelchair. And when you made the offer last time you were here, I was real serious about taking you up on it. And I got to thinking about, when would I do this? So I pulled out my calendar and I got to thinking about it. And I thought, well, I'm a busy guy, man. This is going to be hard. So I'd look at a day and I'm like, well, I got to go to the Capitol that day. That's going to be tough. I better not do it that day. Well, what about well,
You can use crutches down there.
I know, but I'm like, well, I got to go out.
I go to the Capitol in my
I know,
wheelchair.
I know. And I'm like, the next day, I'm going to be in the field. I got to go, because I work for Division of Wildlife. I got to go out in the field and I got to hike around the mountains. And every time I thought I would do it, I found an excuse because of how hard it was. And so you made me think about it. And then shortly after that, I'm sitting in my front yard and my mom and dad are coming. My mom will be here on Friday. And they're coming to watch my daughters play soccer. And across the street, they play soccer in the pit at Mount Ogden Park. And it's a retention pond that we have redoubled as a field, and that's where our kiddos play. And I have been anguishing over how in the world am I going to get my mom down to that game? Because they're coming all the way from Arizona to see our kiddos play soccer. How am I going to get my mom down there? There's no way to get down there. And that's not a knock on our situation. It's a reality of the situation everywhere. So I recognize your challenge, and I think I want to do the challenge, John. And it's going to be hard, but I'll do it.
Well, I'll tell you, after years of experience, it's not hard. I want to race Mr. Myers in a wheelchair, I'll use this in here and he can use a regular one.
That might be cheating.
I've used John's wheelchair, and he put the governor down to about 3 miles an hour, I think, for me, but he can zick along pretty fast, so.
I just didn't want you to think you came here and we didn't hear you.
What's that?
I just didn't want you to think you came here last time and we didn't hear you. You said those things to us, and I thought about you. I've been thinking about you ever since, and I just wanted you to know that.
You accomplished my purpose. Because you were thinking, and that's the important thing.
Councilmember Lopez? Yes.
Just have a follow-up comment. I don't know if I should make it now or wait until our.
If it's concerning this,
it is. I just want to piggyback on what Councilmember Nadolski just said, and I just feel his sentiment, John, and I, like Councilmember Nadolski just mentioned, when you came and spoke last time, it also made me think about what you said, and I went, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a leadership retreat with the Chamber of Commerce, and I became a part of a group, of a committee of the people that went to that training that is going to be looking at developing developing initiatives to help raise awareness about diversity and about disability and about other issues affecting other minority populations. And so I also been thinking about when you came here last time, and individual disabilities is one of those components that we're going to be looking at. And having people in this group, when it's our turn to enact whatever activity we decide to do, we thought about putting that challenge out to a larger group of people as well. So just along the lines of what Councilmember Nadolski said, I appreciate your comments, and I want you to know that I also was moved by it, and that I care very much about this issue that you're bringing to us. The last comment I make along those lines, also, like Councilmember Nadolski mentioned, one of my best friends is on crutches, and he's like my second dad. He's my mentor. He's my friend. He's an older man. He is probably 78, and he had polio when he was a kid, and he walks on crutches all the time. And when he gets a haircut at my house, my wife cuts his hair every 2 weeks. And in the winter, when he comes, I have to be extra careful shoveling the driveway, because he's fallen many times in different occasions. So I'm always thinking about these things. And so thank you for being here.
You're welcome very much. I will, hopefully you will get back with me real soon.
We've got your number.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Anyone else wish to address the council? Okay, seeing no movement, comments from the mayor.
Just quickly, it's unfortunate they all left, but I want to express my gratitude for you all recognizing the work that Lori and Christy put into this. We mentioned in the council mayor work session the fact that Ogden City's been recognized as the second most charitable community in the United States when it comes to volunteer hours given and charitable donations. These volunteer hours that all these people put into the arts programming is absolutely amazing and helps define this community in ways that government could never do. So I appreciated, Councilman, your comments about Lori and Ashley, Lori, Ashley, and Christy. If we could duplicate them, I think would be a far better community. They do phenomenal work that is often unseen, totally behind the scenes, and they are tireless about it. And so appreciate the recognition, appreciate those volunteers that have put so much into this, and I look forward to finding ways we can expand the arts and cultural offerings we have. We're becoming a community that is, we started with outdoor recreation and a number of other things, but it's also becoming a creative class that I think is phenomenal, and the people that come and put all that time and energy into it are the ones building that. We just help facilitate it. So appreciate the recognition and your support of it.
Thanks, Mayor. Council member comments. Anybody have anything to say? It would be rare.
Chair Heyer, I just have a real quick comment. You have a 0 and a million chance to win the Powerball jackpot that's now available, but you have, if you're a woman, you have a 1 in 8 chance of developing breast cancer. And I just want to make sure everybody's aware that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so I know men get breast cancer as well, but go get your mammograms and make sure that you do the preventative stuff. So.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just for a few minutes there, Chair. I'd like to thank Amy Sue for developing the procedure that we went through with the rules and norms. Janine mentioned that it's a tedious operation, but that's what we go by for the next year, and I appreciate her diligence in doing that. And then Janine, I'd like to thank her for developing the resolution for the bond. She did a great job on that. As I was reading through it, in Ogden City alone, there was 8 elementary schools that were built in 1960. Can you imagine that? We have 8 buildings in Ogden that were built well over 50 years ago. And we're trying to educate our students on that type of a situation. The bond will develop a safe learning environment for our students. How critical is that in our day and age? The schools will now become a community meeting place for those to come and share ideas and development. The education will also develop technology. We will give our students that attend the Ogden City schools the technology which they can take out to the world and compete. Today, they cannot compete because of the conditions that we have in our system. An improved education will have an impact for the quality of life and the quality of neighborhoods in Ogden. And I think that's essential for us who wants to develop Ogden and bring new businesses to our area, which means employment and means taxes and means a benefit for us all. But we have to have that education as a component to that. The quality of neighborhood is an initiative that is coupled with the school system. And if we have an aggressive and a positive and an effective school system, then our quality neighborhoods will increase also. And the educational component of education gives us the opportunities, not only for our students, but for us as citizens to improve our lives, because we can share in that knowledge. We can participate in some of the programs that our education system will provide for us. Just like the arts. The arts brings in additional funds for our city. The same component will be for our bond, for our education system. They will bring additional dollars to our community, which we can now continue to have that quality of life. So that's why I think it's important for us to support a strong education program.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Blair, Councilmember Lopez was the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bye, Bart.